So I watched Warfare and it was decent. Now at first I actually had a bit of difficulty watching this movie. I originally wanted to go see it on a Monday, but due to my schedule that day and the hours I was working, I wasn't able to do that. So I went to the theater to watch it on Tuesday, but halfway through the movie the power to the theater went off. So a theater attendant came into our theater and said to wait for a little bit to see if they could get the power back on. And while we were waiting in our theater, you could hear from outside in the hall a bunch of kids running up and down because the Minecraft movie was playing in the next theater. Apparently they just thought it was the most exciting thing ever for the power to go out in the theater. Anyways, about 10 minutes went by and they basically came in and started offering movie vouchers. They said they couldn't get the power back on, but they did give me 2 movie vouchers even though I bought 1 ticket because they felt bad about the entire experience. And I just gotta say, I think that's a really cool business practice that they did. This isn't a sponsorship for AMC, but I just thought it was a really cool thing that they did. So anyways, I had to wait a whole nother week to go see it based on my schedule and what days I was working, but I finally got around to it and I'm glad that I did. Now to talk about the actual movie. Now what I really enjoyed about this movie was how it was able to naturally build tension throughout its story. There are several methods used to accomplish this effect, but first off, probably most notably would be the sound design of this movie. It does a really great job of capturing the atmosphere within this film. There's an explosion scene in this movie and does the stereotypical high-pitched noise, but what really makes this movie stand out in my mind is the fact that it takes so much time to build the tension and atmosphere within that scene. We see certain characters regain consciousness at different times and follow their perspective, and all the sounds are incredibly muffled due to the loud explosion. You sense a certain feeling of dizziness, uncertainty throughout those scenes, and you really just begin to absorb all of it. It's very well done, and it does a great job of making you feel like putting yourself in that scene during the action and tension. I really love the fact that this movie has no score. It really works for what story they're telling and the effectiveness of that scene, as it allows you to absorb the environment that this movie takes place in without any distracting elements. I found the beginning of this movie to do a good job of setting up the tension and building the scene for what was going to happen. The way characters relay information to each other, it certainly does build up a sense of uneasiness throughout that certain part of the movie. There's a sniper scene in this movie that I thought was very well done. You can definitely feel the tension and stressfulness of having to focus on a certain point of view throughout that character. He's sweating, he's trying to control his breathing and stay focused, but it's very difficult to maintain that for such a long period of time, and that actor's performance does a really great job of selling it. I found the last third of this movie to be its most effective part of it. It certainly is the part of the movie where the most action and tension happens, and it's all done incredibly well. This movie takes a minimalistic approach to the action in this movie, and I think it works very well for choosing what to show and what not to show. There's a lot in the third act of this movie that leaves a lot to appreciate. I really love how characters communicate with each other and organize certain operations to get out of the situation, how they relay information to each other. It certainly does feel very authentic to what would happen. And the fact that this movie takes place in real time, it adds an extra level of appreciation to it. You certainly feel like everything is being set in motion and their plans are being carried out. It certainly does a great job of making you feel in the center of that scene in action. Now, something to note about this movie is that it doesn't seem as much focused on character development. Not to say that there's no character to these characters, but there isn't a lot of time spent developing them. It is really focused on the entire experience of this stressful situation that is happening, and I think it works for what this film is going for. After the explosion scene that I mentioned earlier in this review, there's some really well done wound scenes and gore effects. The way that the characters tend to the injured certainly leaves a lot to be appreciated. There are characters that are wounded that just are asking the characters to stop performing operations on them because it just hurts so much, and it certainly leaves you a lot to think about. Now, to wrap this up, I feel if you watch the trailer to this movie and it looks interesting to you, then you'll definitely enjoy it. If this movie doesn't really look like your kind of thing, then don't really go see it. This may not be the most groundbreaking movie of all time, but it does certainly do a lot of things well, and it makes some creative decisions I'm very happy about. Now, this movie did remind me a lot of The Hurt Locker, which I reviewed in another episode. And The Hurt Locker is an overall better movie in my opinion, so go watch that definitely. But I would say this one's worth checking out, and it gets a 6 out of 10.